and supporters about 130 and between 150. Then retired Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde extended his campaigns to Katakwi, Kapelebyong, and Amuriat. They also addressed very few people. Some were standing on their verandas, and he promised to restock back their cattle once he's voted into power, and so on and so forth. Then in Honorable Kalembe again did not turn up in Kasese and Kamwenge districts where she was supposed to hold her campaigns. Again, Honorable Mayamba Lawili didn't turn up in Dokolo. Honorable Katumba John campaigned in Wakiso in 3 venues, that is around the old market and the taxi park. He usually gets those trading centers and market areas. That's how he does his campaigns. He promised to remove OTT and things like that. In Nasana municipality, he also had, he addressed a few people and so on. Honorable Mwesige Fred proceeded to Bukedia and Butaleja districts, but he didn't have any coordinators in those places. So he would drive in his vehicle, waving and addressing people on a microphone. That was in Nigandwa, Nampologoma, and Butaleja Town Council. Then in the DP presidential candidate also extended his campaigns in Oyam, Kole, and Lira, where he also drove around waving to people in small gatherings of about 50. Honorable Kabuleta didn't campaign, it was a rest day. Then the ANT presidential candidate, Honorable retired Major General Mugisha Muntu, extended his campaigns in Bukwo, Kwen, and Kapchorwa districts. We managed to cover him in those areas. The first venue in Bukwo was at Swam Town Board, where he had about 150 people, proceeded to Bukwo Main Market, and addressed about 200 people. So he proceeded with his campaigns up to Kapchorwa. I mean, he was supposed to proceed to Kapchorwa and then Kwen, but he did not turn up for those campaigns. Now, those are just a few highlights on the political campaigns. Now, the Joint Task Force has come out to inform the public about plans to enforce the guidelines that were issued by the Media Council recently. So I'd like to acknowledge plans by the Media Council to have all journalists covering the elections, both foreign and local, to have accredited press badges from the Media Council. And we want to inform the public and all media practitioners that beginning the 21st of December, all our territorial commanders will recognize only journalists who are accredited and will ensure only those cover the political campaigns and other electoral events. The fact that the press badges have a security feature, all accredited journalists will be subjected to verification processes for authenticity, and also to ensure that the details that are captured on the security code do match their particulars. We want to ask all journalists that will be covering these events beginning the 21st of December to cooperate with our officers at all times when they are approached. And we also want to warn those who will attempt to forge the press badges they will be easily identified because of the security features that are on the press cards that are supposed to be issued by the Media Council. This implies that journalists who hold accreditation from outside the Media Council or hold work IDs will not be granted permission to cover the electoral events because they will not be eligible. However, if they insist on participating in the electoral events, they will be treated as well-wishers and not benefit from the privileges and protective cover that we always extend to the accredited journalists. We strongly believe that this will give a very clear distinction between genuine journalists and those that are ingenuine, and also help eliminate the propagation of rumors, disinformation, antagonistic discussions, which are likely to incite violence, instances where opinions are biased, distorted, and unbalanced. Even challenges where you find that some of the journalists along these campaign trails are deliberately mobilized and don't perform their duties as expected. So we believe that the genuine journalists will continue conducting coverage of these events in a more thorough, verified, and unbalanced manner to their listeners, readers, and viewers. Therefore, as the joint security agencies, we are committed to treating journalists with the courtesy and give them the reasonable assistance they require to cover the entire electoral process over the remaining period. Regarding some of the incidents, like the incident which happened in Lira, where although we didn't get a direct complaint, we've opened a file where some members of the media, in particular journalists who were covering the new campaign trail, were allegedly physically assaulted. So the IGP has instructed the Commissioner Media Crimes Department to investigate all cases where journalists covering the elections have been subjected to physical assault and even other forms of harassment, including online harassment from members of the public, including security personnel. Together, the security and journalists, or the media, we must work together to expose whoever comes out to compromise the rights of journalists or curtails their freedom of expression. We also shall be able to use this opportunity to expose journalists who go out of their journalistic work and ethics to undermine security officers on lawful duty. So that is that. And also following the events over the weekend, we as the Joint Security Agency have come out to warn organizers of illegal concerts and parties now that we are entering the Christmas week. What we've noticed is that there seems to be an increase in the number of illegal parties across hotels, house parties, and we've also witnessed the emergence of shows and concerts that are stealthily and illegally being conducted now that we are moving towards Christmas. For instance, over the weekend, we learned of such illegal events where several revelers attended concerts and parties, and yet these are events that are still prohibited. One of those events occurred at Dungu Beach in Munyonyo, and then we had another one at Heritage Tourist Lodges, that is in Noya District, respectively. Many people, it is estimated that several people in their hundreds attended these shows with entertainers who traveled all the way from Nigeria. So we are extremely disappointed that such illegal events that have significant negative impact on the community amidst the increased threat of COVID-19 in our society actually took place. It is even more disappointing that these events happened with the close eye and conspiracy of some of our junior officers. For instance, the OC station Salama with these officers had knowledge of the event at Dungu beach here in Munyonyo, and they kept this information away even from the DPC Katwe, the RPC Katwe, and even the territorial commanders at Kampala Metropolitan. Of course, these are acts of professional misconduct that cannot be tolerated in the force. As of yesterday, we had 3 officers arrested. That is for neglect of duty, disobedience of lawful orders, and related conspiracies. They included 1 Lana Assistant Inspector of Police Fabiano Juma, Police Constables John Bosco Ochaba and Paul Odongo. Now, we are also seeking other officers who are still at large, especially the OC station of Salama. That is Assistant Superintendent of Police Nangumia Ian and his in-charge CID called Detective Kopolo Kozara. These 2 officers are the ones who allegedly deployed the other 3 officers, so they dealt directly with the Dungu, with the owners, the proprietors of Dungu Beach, where this event occurred. Of course, the organizers had knowledge that what they were doing was a prohibited act, because even people in the immediate neighborhood first thought that it was one of those typical social functions, a wedding, a birthday party, which extends up to like 7, 8, and so on. So they tried to play it down, where they started with the luncheon, they had dinner, and this transitioned into a full-blown concert with the celebrated artists from Nigeria performing on the stages. So this was quite disappointing. You could look at the pictures, the images. There were no safeguards for the revelers in place. People were shouting at the top of their voices, and such illegal events have a very big potential of spreading the virus in our communities. The organizers, of course, who included Benjamin Kabura, Ivan Dungu, Kasache Philip, and Prim Kasana, are being processed, and we expect their file to go to the DPP today. They're the ones who contracted the artists, who included Stanley Omar Didia, Elias Omar Lay, Temilade Openyi, whom many revelers know as Thames, and Muyiwa Aomi, that is Temilade's manager. All these were in custody. Of course, there was a lot that was trending on social media, usually with their propaganda that these people are not in custody, but want to confirm to you that they're in custody, and we are going to, we've withdrawn their passports and accorded them police bond as inquiries continue. So they will still have to keep around as we wait for the opinion of the DPP, since they were invited and then led into those concerts and so on. We've also asked the immigration to give us information, since they came as performing artists, which visas it is that they entered our country with. Were they given a working visa or an ordinary visa? Then we shall also look into that direction. Our investigators continue to trawl the videos that were recovered surrounding these events. This is to purposely identify more offenders for arrest and probable prosecution. So I want to use also this opportunity to remind members of the community, musicians, promoters, about their obligations under the Ministry of Health SOPs on COVID-19. We all know that concerts are still restricted and are still under lockdown. I don't see why we come out with forceful situations of going against these rules that were very, very clear and are meant to fight the transmission of COVID-19. So we call upon all members to take personal responsibility to keep themselves and each other safe as we proceed. About the other venue, that was at Heritage Safari Lodges. This was an event that was organized by Swang's Avenue, that is a music group, and together with the proprietor of Heritage Tourist Lodges along the Nile River, that is at Tango. And they had, of course, planned their event, taking into consideration the maximum numbers of around 200 people. And they even engaged the district police commander for Noya and informed him about this event. Now, the event that they were allowed to carry out involved tourist-related activities of a game ride inside the Makshon National Park, having a boat cruise. That place is just along the shore of River Nile, so they also organized a boat cruise and even lunch and breakfast on the 12th and 13th of December. They were even transported in 5 Uwa buses from Kampala up to Noya. Now, similar to what happened in Murung, that is at Dungu Beach, when it reached around 9, what was a typical social function now also transitioned into a full-blown concert with performances, and of course our police officers were alerted. The DPC Noya could not respond very fast because it is 70 kilometers away from the district. So we alerted the DPC of Pakwach, and is the one who came and stopped the event and asked the revelers to return to their rooms and lodges. So we've today the proprietor of Heritage Safari Lodges, that is Mr. Lalobo, together with the son who is a manager called Obadia, were summoned to Noya district, where we've opened a case file. Together with the managers of Swang's Avenue, the music group, we also are supposed to record their statements. Now, in the period under review, we had about 71 major incidents that were reportable, compared to 44 cases the previous week, which shows an increase in the number of these reported cases by 59%. 45 lives were lost. Out of those, 33 were arising out of murders, and 26 suspects were arrested in connection with these. Out of the 28 regions, still 9 regions had no major incidents. Then, Amongst the typical cases that we had in Iganga, our territorial police there managed to arrest 2 suspects who are in custody. These ones, they robbed a gun from a police officer, that is PC Omara Richard, who is attached to Iganga police station. He was going for guard duty at the chief magistrate's residence. So when they robbed this gun, we started acting on intelligence, and we managed to recover the gun with one called Magumba Hakim, who is an LDU deserter from Bweyegula village in Buyanga sub-county. Together with his accomplice, identified as Dorimara Abbas, a 45-year-old traditional herbalist, resident of Mogona village. I don't know what he had gone to do at the witch doctor's place. So we are transferring these two to the court martial, so that they are actually processed from there. Incidents of murder still continue, arising out of domestic violence. We had one disturbing incident which happened in Chegegwa district, that is the Rushayumbe village, where at around 8:30 in the morning, a female adult identified as Kemigisha Sharon, who is suspected to be a lunatic or of abnormal mentality. She has been having this mental condition for the last 5 years. She woke up that morning and then attacked the biological grandmother with a machete, a panga that she was carrying. So she attacked the grandmother, aged 82, identified as Matere Evelyn, and severally hacked her to death. So we responded, we managed to arrest the suspect and also recovered the murder weapon. So we are subjecting her to further medical health checks because of her condition and also the case that she actually committed. So that was an unfortunate incident. Then again, in Rukunjiri, police officers have 2 suspects in custody, identified as Orichinga Lovens, together with her son Bamwesiga Martin. These 2 are suspected to have attacked an 84-year-old female adult identified as Nina Rubuga Joy, who is a peasant farmer in Kajwa Mshana Cell in Rukunjiri. She had just returned from the sub-county headquarters, where she had received 100,000, the payment for elderly persons under siege. So as she was at home, it is alleged that at around 9 p.m. these 2 neighbors came and attacked her and hacked her to death. So inquiries are continuing. The scene was documented. And then again in Chenjojo, we had another incident of murder by assault. This happened in Kisojo Nsanda parish, where one identified as Patrick Friday, aged 29, was killed in one of the bars where he had gone drinking with other revelers. It so happened that when this Patrick Friday went into the bar, he got other people drinking, including Isaac Byamukama. So he descended onto the drink of the colleagues and started drinking without permission. So now when time reached for him to buy, he didn't have money on him, so they got his head and hit it severally on the bench, and this man died instantly. We have arrested Daniel, the owner of the bar, and are charging him with murder as we trace for Isaac and Byamukama, the other suspects. Then again, there was another disturbing incident of murder by stabbing. This one happened here in Kampala at Musajja Lumbwa Road, where one Sekate Ivan, known as Semogerere, a beautician, I think he does manicure, had a quarrel over 1,000 shillings with one called, with a female adult identified as Namukisa Sharon. According to the eyewitnesses, the deceased Sekate Ivan, that is Semogerere, had finished working on the nails of the suspect Namukisa Sharon and started demanding for the 1,000 shillings, which she failed to pay. So they had an altercation, and this female suspect drew out a knife and stabbed the deceased around the neck, which was very bad. The victim died instantly, and we managed to arrest the suspect, and also recovered the killer weapon, which is the knife. Then we have, of course, operations that are ongoing against people who deliberately refuse to put on face masks while in public places, like in markets, taxis. These operations were commenced last week, and of course we are targeting hotspots. 21 people were arrested in the areas of Katwe, and they were charged and appeared in court. On that same day, there was a joint operation between the police and UPDF, where we recovered 2,920 liters of fuel that was confiscated and exhibited after it was recovered against these dealers of illegal fuel and so on and so forth. So we believe these are some of the tools of riots, and we are going to ensure that those operations there do continue. Then in Kyagulanyi district, we managed to arrest one called Olwedo Betty, a housewife, together with the daughter identified as Amonge Mercy, who assaulted their father and husband, that is Okello Tony, a 34-year-old peasant. It so happened that Okello Tony developed a domestic misunderstanding with the wife. That was at around 9 p.m. They started a fight between them, and in the scuffle, the wife pounced on the manhood of the husband, and this attracted assistance from the daughter called Amonge Mercy, who came with a hoe and started hitting the head of the father with using a hoe, and he was rushed to the clinic. His condition worsened and he died the following day. So these are the incidents of domestic violence. We have that one arrested and in our custody. Then finally, we have a teacher of Karenga Boys Primary School, identified as Okema Thomas, 25-year-old, whom we have in our custody on charges of aggravated defilement. This is a teacher who lured a 16-year-old female juvenile and pupil at Karenga Primary School and led the victim to his home and started defiling her. So, excuse me, we managed to arrest him and he's in our custody. Thank you. Get some water. Let me get some water and those Karenga Primary School.